You put down a bowl of wet food every day, your cat demolishes it, licks their whiskers, and life carries on as normal. Or does it? Because while your cat may look exactly the same on the outside, changing what goes into that bowl can affect something you might not expect. How much water enters their body, what happens in the litter tray, how easily you manage their weight, and even how they start behaving when dinner time approaches. But there's also one very common wet food mistake that can turn a healthy meal into something you definitely don't want your cat eating, and we'll get to that shortly. If you enjoy discovering what's really going on inside your cat's mind and body, subscribe to Feline Minds and give this video a like. It helps us keep making videos that help you understand your cat a little better, because the first change begins with something cats aren't always particularly good at doing: drinking enough water. Number 1. Your cat starts drinking their dinner. It sounds strange, but when your cat eats wet food, they're not just eating their meal, they're also consuming a significant amount of water at the same time. And for cats, that's important. Your cat's ancestors didn't spend their evenings wandering around the desert looking for a convenient little water fountain. Much of the moisture they needed came from the animals they ate. Modern house cats may live very different lives, perhaps considerably more time sleeping on your sofa than hunting through the desert. But water is still essential to almost every system in their body. Now imagine two cats. One walks over to a bowl of dry food. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The other dives face first into a bowl of wet food. Both cats can still visit their water bowl afterwards, but the second cat has already taken in a considerable amount of moisture with the meal itself. Studies comparing feline diets with different moisture levels have found that cats eating higher moisture food can take in more total fluid overall, even though they may actually drink less directly from their water bowl. So don't be surprised if you switch your cat onto wet food and suddenly think, hang on, I haven't seen you drinking as much. They may simply be getting more of that water somewhere else, inside dinner, and that leads to a change you might notice somewhere slightly less glamorous: the litter tray. Number 2, the litter tray may tell you first. Nobody adopts a cat because they're excited about inspecting their litter tray. Yet that little box can reveal quite a lot. When more water enters your cat's body, more water can eventually leave it. Research on cats eating high-moisture diets has found greater urine volume and more diluted urine compared with lower-moisture diets. In normal human language, your cat may pee more, so you might start scooping slightly larger clumps from the litter tray. And although your cat probably won't be writing you a thank you card for improving their hydration, their urinary system certainly depends on having adequate water available. But there's an important distinction here. Wet food isn't a magic shield against every urinary or kidney problem. If your cat suddenly starts urinating much more than normal, struggles to pee, repeatedly visits the litter tray, cries while urinating, or you notice blood, don't simply assume, oh, it must be the wet food. Those changes deserve veterinary attention, but for a healthy cat, adding more moisture through food can be a useful way of increasing total water intake. Now here's where things become more surprising, because one of the biggest reasons people switch to wet food isn't actually hydration. It's this: weight. Number 3, their weight can go in either direction. You'll sometimes hear, wet food helps cats lose weight, and that can be true, but it leaves out an important part of the story. Many wet foods contain a lot of water, which means they can provide a physically larger amount of food for a given number of calories compared with a very energy-dense, dry food. Research has also shown that increasing the water content of a cat's diet can reduce voluntary calorie intake and body weight under controlled conditions. Sounds perfect? So just keep filling the bowl with wet food and your cat becomes slim? Not quite, because your cat has absolutely no idea how many calories are in that delicious chicken pate. And more importantly, your cat doesn't control the tin opener, you do. Imagine your cat normally receives a measured amount of dry food. You decide wet food is healthier, so you give them a full pouch in the morning, another in the evening, some dry food because they still look hungry, and perhaps a few treats because apparently they haven't eaten since 1847. Suddenly, you've added calories rather than reducing them, and your cat's waistline begins traveling in the wrong direction. So wet food itself doesn't guarantee weight loss. total calorie intake still matters. Check the feeding guide and calorie information on the food, monitor your cat's body condition, and adjust the amount for the individual cat, rather than assuming every pouch is automatically one perfect meal. And if you're deliberately trying to help an overweight cat lose weight, your vet can help you choose a sensible target without cutting their food too aggressively. But there's another change people often expect after switching foods. They start staring at something else, the coat. Number 4, will wet food actually make their coat shinier? You've probably seen this claim before. Feed your cat better food, and suddenly they transform into a glossy little panther. Beautiful coat, perfect fur, possibly ready for a shampoo commercial. But here's the important part. Wet food isn't magic conditioner. A healthy coat depends on your cat receiving the nutrients their body needs, including adequate protein, essential fats, vitamins, and minerals. And those nutrients can come from appropriately formulated wet food or dry food. So if you switch from a poor quality or unsuitable diet to a nutritionally complete diet that suits your cat, you might eventually notice positive changes in their overall condition. But the fact that food is wet doesn't automatically mean it will produce a shinier coat. This is why the label matters. If wet food is going to make up your cat's main diet, make sure it's labeled as nutritionally complete for their appropriate life stage, rather than being a complementary food designed only as a topper or occasional extra. And if your cat's coat suddenly becomes greasy, excessively flaky, patchy, or dramatically different, don't diagnose the problem by changing flavors at the supermarket. There can be many reasons a coat changes. Now, physically, your cat may not transform overnight. Behaviorally, you may soon discover you've accidentally created a tiny furry alarm clock. Number 5, your cat starts learning your dinner routine. It's 5:57 p.m. Dinner is at 6. You haven't said anything, you haven't touched the food, you haven't even stood up. Yet somehow, your cat is already staring at you. Then you walk towards the kitchen. They follow. You open the cupboard. Closer. You reach for the pouch. Meow. And heaven help you if you open the fridge. Cats are extremely good at learning patterns that predict something they enjoy, and highly palatable food can make those routines even more obvious. Your cat may learn the sound of a pouch tearing, the cupboard where the food lives, the particular drawer containing their bowl, the time you normally feed them. They might start waiting in the kitchen before you arrive, following you around, meowing, rubbing against your legs, or sprinting into the room as though nobody has fed them in several weeks. That doesn't necessarily mean they're starving. Sometimes they've simply learned human does this. Then delicious thing happens, and different cats will react differently. One might politely sit beside the bowl. Another might attempt to climb your body while you're still holding the spoon. If your cat becomes extremely demanding around food, try keeping feeding times predictable without rewarding every bit of begging with an extra serving. Because remember what we learned earlier, those little extras still contain calories. But there is one wet food habit that deserves even more attention. Because unlike dry biscuits, once wet food has been opened and served, the clock starts ticking. Number 6, the wet food mistake most owners forget. Picture this, you put wet food in your cat's bowl. Your cat takes 3 bites, then walks away. Classic cat. You assume they'll come back later. An hour passes, then another. The food is still sitting there. The room is warm, and now that moist, protein-rich food isn't quite as appealing as it was when it came out of the pouch. Wet food is perishable. Once it's opened, it shouldn't simply be treated like dry kibble that can sit around indefinitely. So serve sensible portions, follow the storage instructions on the packaging, refrigerate unused opened food appropriately, and don't keep returning the same old bowl to your cat hours later because, well, it still looks fine. If food has been sitting out too long, particularly somewhere warm, throwing it away is safer than gambling with your cat's stomach. And here's another reason smaller servings can help. Some cats enthusiastically eat the top layer of a huge portion, walk away, and then refuse the dried out remains later. So instead of presenting enough pâté to cater a feline wedding, A smaller fresh serving can sometimes work much better, and that brings us to the biggest question of all. Number 7. So, should your cat eat wet food every day? For many healthy cats, yes, wet food can be fed every day. But that isn't the same thing as saying every cat needs an all-wet food diet. The more useful question is, does this particular diet meet this particular cat's needs? A suitable everyday food should provide complete and balanced nutrition for your cat's life stage. The portions should provide an appropriate number of calories. Your cat should maintain a healthy body condition. Fresh drinking water should still always be available, even when they're eating wet food. And if your cat has a medical condition or already eats a veterinary prescription diet, don't suddenly replace it because somebody on the internet told you wet food is automatically healthier. Speak to your vet before making a major change. Because here's the real takeaway. Feed your cat wet food every day, and the first thing changing might not be something you can see. They may simply be taking more water into their body with every meal. That can change what happens in the litter tray. The lower energy density of some wet diets can potentially help with weight management if portions are controlled. Your cat may become incredibly good at predicting exactly when that pouch is going to open. And yes, you might discover that the sound of peeling back a foil lid can apparently teleport a sleeping cat from the opposite end of the house. But wet food isn't magic. The healthiest diet isn't decided by whether it comes from a bag, pouch, or tin. It's the diet that provides the nutrition your individual cat needs in the right amount day after day. And perhaps most importantly, if your cat has been staring at you throughout this entire video, you may want to check the time, because they probably already know exactly how many minutes remain until dinner.